Before we even get started, I wanted to stress at the beginning that this video contains spoilers for a decade-old game. You've been warned. But stick around anyway, it's worth it. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Escape from Mount Backlog. That's right, we're closing out
Horror Month
with a classic that I've already played, but it felt poignant to do this video. The plan was to do a Five Nights at Freddy's video, and it was a solid plan. But then I heard the news that EA had not only cancelled the single-player focused Star Wars game, which I was tentatively excited for, because Battlefront hasn't been my bag since, well, Battlefront 2, and I can't get into the Old Republic. MMOs aren't my thing either, and Warframe doesn't count as an MMO for the three of you that would bring that up. In addition to the cancellation, they also announced the closure of Visceral games, adding them to the quite disconcertingly large pile of developer corpses it's devoured over the years. So I decided to go off Steam and pulled a box out of my shelf, dusted it off, and reinstalled one of my favorite horror games that's almost 10 years old, Dead Space. But first, a little history lesson. Who exactly were Visceral Games? Visceral began their life as EA Redwood Shores, a purely internal studio for EA, who were tasked with mostly the development of licensed tie-in games, including a couple of Bond games and even a NASCAR one. There were two standout projects from that era though. The not entirely shit Return of the King action game and the Godfather GTA clone, which was pretty good. I remember playing both of those actually. They were both great when I played them, and I am acutely aware of the effect of rose-tinted glasses. Trying to play these games again may make me suffer. It was while the studio was grafting hard on these licensed projects that they started forming the idea of a System Shock sequel. But EA was having none of it, wanting to focus in the early 2000s on publishing licensed games and sports titles. But then, a plucky little company from the land of the rising sun released a game that fundamentally changed the course of gaming. I'm of course referring to Musashi Samurai Legends by Square Enix. I mean, Resident Evil 4 by Capcom. Now, I shouldn't need to tell you how influential RE4 was. Hell, just look at every third-person action game going over the shoulders since 2005. Every single one of them can be traced back to RE4. Of course, the team at then still called Redwood also took note and shifted their intent with the System Shock sequel to line up more with the design of RE4. And because RE4 was a relative financial success, EA gave the team their blessing to work on a similar title, a game which became Dead Space. At its core, Dead Space is a sci-fi survival horror game, which carries its inspirations on its sleeve. Part Event Horizon, part Alien, with a dash of Carpenter's The Thing and a sprinkle of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You play as Isaac Clarke, engineer, sent with a small team to investigate and repair, if possible, some systems of the USG Ishimura, a Planet Cracker class mining ship. Of course, the moment you arrive, something's amiss, and through the course of the game, you uncover what happened to the station and try to escape. All while being haunted by your dead wife. Of course, it's not until you reach the final chapter that you realize she's dead, but the game does kind of make it blatant throughout the course of it. So, you explore the station, figure out that a sect of religious nuts called Unitologists who worship some kind of alien monolith are to blame, because of course it's religious zealots, who else would it be? And this monolith that they're worshipping somehow turns people crazy, and upon death transform the corpses into shambling masses of bone and blood and pus, screaming, moaning monsters that would make John Carpenter proud. These creatures, these necromorphs inhabit the Ishimura. The atmosphere of the game is thick with rusted industrial dread. The Ishimura is a mining ship, and it shows. Save for the medical wing, the entire ship is utilitarian in its design. Catwalks and cargo lifts, rust-brown interiors and fluorescent lights. Blood glistens in the stark lighting, and every single vent, of which there seems to be one on every corner throughout the station, could contain a necromorph, ready to pounce on an unsuspecting Isaac. By the end of the game, you honestly try and check every single vent just in case. And more often than not, it's nothing. The ship's design lends itself perfectly to fostering dread and scares. Almost as if its in-universe designer, or space architect I suppose, had seen sci-fi horror films of the past and designed the Ishimura deliberately to be the spookiest ship ever. One that must be navigated with intentionally clunky tank-like controls. Isaac is not an agile man. Movement is slow, deliberate. Animations are locked, so you better commit to stomping that alien skull, because Isaac sure is. You can't just flick the camera around either, it will disorient you if you look around too quickly. Isaac moves and gazes with purpose. Every action has to be taken with intent, be that intent to shoot, run, or stomp. Slip up, and a necromorph can very easily disembowel you without a moment's hesitation. Well, at least on harder difficulties. On easy you can beat the game using only the plasma cutter, and the necros deal reduced damage. I know, I tried. Combat is an exercise in threat management, more than just killing the closest target. It's in reading the crowd of enemies barreling down on you and picking your targets. Kinda like Robert Downey Jr. in that Sherlock movie. This, in conjunction with a deliberately clunky control scheme, makes for a few tense encounters. Dead Space is a game that transcended the sum of its parts to become a greater whole, at once a tense horror and a power fantasy romp, an experience where you're an underpowered unlikely survivor and a stomp crazy murder machine. To the Visceral team, if any of you stumble on this video, know that there are many like me who would gladly support your next project. Just keep making games. Dead Space as an experience still holds up today, and it's one that's still well worth playing. I urge you, if you haven't already, pick it up. It's available on Steam and Origin, and it's well worth the price of admission. If you've already finished it, do what I did. Fire it up again, play through it. It works fine on Windows 10. And that'll just about wrap up this episode of Escape from Mount Backlog. And that'll also finish out Horror Month. Been a hell of a ride, I think, starting and ending with games inspired by Alien in some way. Alien Isolation, more directly, but Dead Space as well. Don't forget to share this video around with your friends, like it if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are subscribed, hit that little notification bell icon thing so you can see when I upload the next video. Now of course, there's a certain genre of game that tends to be released around the month of November. So next month, I'm pretty sure you'll see a lot more corpses on this channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye!